Howdy there folks, welcome back to another stream with me, Fluent Code, here in the UK, live on Twitch and YouTube. Now hang on, let me just make sure I've got this volume about right, because otherwise it will be doubling up across my system. I have no idea how I'm getting this to... I think that'll be fine. That'll be fine. Can everyone hear me? Hopefully everyone can hear me through the microphone fine, and we're not getting a bleed through from the audio. Doesn't appear to be picking it up, so that should be fine. Welcome back. Welcome back to another stream. Very quickly put my lucky hat on. Must have my lucky hat, otherwise things might go terribly awful today. Who knows? But that's the theory that we are working with. Okay, interesting stream for us today. This is about the first time that I have done a Wednesday stream in, well, almost forever. I don't think I've ever really done a Wednesday stream before. It's always kind of been my thing that I would run Friday through Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays off. Thursdays is brownies, so it's time to go and pick my daughter up from brownies. Wednesdays had always just been that sort of off day where we were supposed to be doing content creation. Now this week I've got a week off, from work, so I have no work commitments to get up for. Nothing particularly pressing, and so what I've decided is this week I am going to stream all week and see what happens, see whether or not certain days during the week are better for my performance than others, and if that is the case, then we'll revise where we are with the with the whole streaming game, and look at changing up what we're doing. So that is part of this. Basically, we are essentially, what's that? There's a heart on my mobile phone. I don't know what that is. Someone's just... Okay, never mind. Ignore them. It never happened. So, you get bonus Fluent Code this week. A little bit extra of me while I figure out what days are best, because I might change it up a little bit. Possibly, I have been sneakily thinking over the last couple of weeks that that the weekends are not terribly effective nights for streaming. I don't know whether people are still going to the pub or things like that, but they don't appear to want to watch little old me stream my miniature painting. So perhaps it might be either Friday and Saturday night or Saturday and Sunday nights that are for the chop. Anyway, you'll see that I have actually raised my camera up a little bit this time round. Again, it's gone back to its old position because I wasn't very happy with the fact that we were quite zoomed in. I like to have a little bit more space between me and the camera here, so that I can make use of a little bit more of the mat. But I am still very much a fan of the center spot, so that is going to be my target for keeping miniatures in shot, because otherwise I am absolutely awful for it. I will duck off down to the edge of the screen and then you don't get to see it. I hang my wrist over the edge of the desk for stability, I guess. because I'm a massive klutz normally, but I'm not actually, but it does help to give an extra bit of stability. Right, I just wanted to add a little bit of extra onto his bottoms there, and I'm going to add a little bit extra onto the cloak. You can see we had quite a bit of pooling on there the other day. So we're just going to see if we can slap a bit more of the dreaded nasty contrast paint. I've had several conversations with people recently about, oh, you know, contrast paints are terrible, this, that and the rest of it, and I'm like, they're just a tool. Just grow up, get used to it, don't gatekeep the hobby. You know, all of us old grognards need to grow up and let the young'uns do what they want with painting. Oh, they don't learn the correct ways. Well, yeah, okay, well then use your Jedi fu to teach them the correct ways on your stream, or whatever it is you're trying to get across to the youth of today. As I say, doing my best old man shouts at clouds impression. Now, what we aren't going to do is put another coat over his beard and hair. He's got very cool Jesus-y type long hair. It is quite white. Obviously, we're going for a sort of silvery grey style of hair. So we're not going to put another coat on him, on his hair. We are going to put one on his cloak, because I believe that will hopefully take out some of the gradient from the zenithal. That's the theory, that's my plan. Let's see if it works. I mean, I must admit, the plan has gone remarkably well over the last few models, considering the plan is normally the sort of vaguest inklings of a, okay, I'm going to do it these colours. Well, they have gone rather well recently, so I'm waiting for a disaster. You know, even the Oblex, which I thought was actually going to be a disaster, I thought it was going to turn out terrible, to be honest with you, until we put that last coat of contrast red on it the other day. I still thought it was going to look absolutely terrible. So, you know, there's that. Right, is that going to sit on the cloak? Quite possibly it's going to sit on the cloak, but we're okay there. Now, let's have a look. I wanted to try and keep him in keeping with the other storm giant, the other big boy that we did, and I don't quite know what the best method of doing that is going to be. Don't know whether I need to look at including the same turquoisey colour. These are the miniatures that we're working on at the moment. A nice broad range, spectrum, whatever you want to call it, of miniatures. I'm wondering if his torch would look extremely weird if I painted that in a bluey colour rather than fire. I don't know. I think that might look too odd, but it would help me blend in with the other one that we did. Let's just have a look and see if there is any examples of that one. As I say, I do. A couple of people have mentioned the issue of scale with these miniatures, and I agree. I don't think they are terribly well scaled. I think part of the problem is that there's been a couple of variations of these miniatures, potentially some of them with different scales. And I think the ones that I've got, because they are offcasts from the what are they called? The Assault of Giants box set. I think the scaling on them is slightly smaller than some of the other ones. Although King Hecaton's Storm Giant, approximately 5.5 inches in height. Is that how tall he is? Look, we can actually measure him here. There is no way that that is 5.5. That is barely 4 inches. So yes, there is a different scale version of him out there somewhere. What have I got here? Oh, there's another there. Oh, that's a pot of liquid green stuff. Okay. Excuse me while I just strip off for you. Not like that. Okay, so these guys are definitely a bit underscaled, but to be honest with you, my players are not going to know that. When it lands on the table in front of them, it's going to shit them up. That's all that I really care about. So I still think it would probably be best to try and paint that in red, as in fire. Maybe it'll just be his eyes. I might actually, that's a good point, I might actually do something with his fist. Phrasing. Okay, let's put some paint on things. Now, what have we got here? Well, this is interesting because I have a couple of fleshy kind of colours. Most notably this one. Is this one going to be too dark? I think this one is probably going to be better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to shudder. I'm going to actually paint this guy, which is I'm going to add normal actual paint onto him. Oh, that's way too light. Let's have a look. Don't know. I think that's probably a bit, that's not too light. I think that's probably way too dark, if I'm honest with you. Let's add a little bit of this bad boy to it. I'm going to have to do something about that pot of race bone, unfortunately. It is a bit of a gloopy mess. And not in a good way. There are positive gloopy messes out there, but not this one. Oh look, Saved Bot has come to life. It's a program that I was using. It's a website. I think I'll probably end up getting rid of it, to be honest with you, because it's not that helpful to me anymore. Right, let's shufty these guys over to one side for now, and we'll start working on this guy. As in, I feel like I'm running out of space. What's going on here? What's wrong with the space? Let's move that, move this. Sorry, I'm just gonna be all professional and getting stuff in the way of each other here for a moment while I reposition. There we go. That works a little bit, and that gives me a little bit of extra room here. So I'm just going to sketch these highlights in. I'm not trying to be neat and tidy, and I'm not going to go back and really tidy them up afterwards as well. This is kind of how they are going to look, but what I am trying to do is add some texture to this guy whilst trying to avoid the potential for him to look a bit like a veiny penis, which I anticipate is going to be slightly harder than I originally thought to do, because these lines over his back are a bit awkwardly proportioned, if you get what I mean. Right, so let's try and stay over the marker so that we get him in shot. I do feel that the choice of a fleshy colour on this one was probably a mistake. I think the yellow one is going to look slightly better because of that. But we will work on the yellow one after we're done highlighting this one up. Both going to get much the same sort of process, just sort of working some sketchy highlights across these ridges on his back, keeping it as simple as I can, to be honest with you. I don't want to be spending too much time on what are essentially filler monsters. Every encounter is important, but you know, the lower the challenge rating, the sort of, no, it's not strictly true. Not the lower the challenge rating, but you have to apportion your time logically. And if you're going to spend, you know, 5 minutes in I say 5 minutes. God, how many people can even manage to get through a single combat turn in 5 minutes? Most parties that I've played in can't, and I certainly as a DM can't manage to get my stupid players to even remember the rules to hit for their own character, let alone so that they can sort of police themselves with their other player. You know, despite the number of times that I say, look, write down on your character sheet that you're you roll a d20 and then you add +7 to it to hit. Oh, what am I rolling to hit? Yeah, so getting through a 6-second combat turn in 5 minutes is pretty tricky, to be fair. And I do hope I'm not the only one who experiences that. I'm sure I can't be. Queen of Sabotage, welcome back to the chat. How are you? Oh, that's good to hear. I'm very glad to hear it. How was your weekend? Did you have a break over Easter? Was it a long weekend? Yes and no. Okay. Well, elaborate if you want to. If not, that's absolutely fine. But you're keeping well, I take it. And I'll paint some more. Okay. So I'm working also when I have that. Oh, okay. What was it you said that you do? You may have said, you may not have done, but I'm afraid I can't actually remember. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, hospitality and what have you is there's never a day off, is there? You know, so even on a public holiday, it's like, okay, hospitality is probably going to be as busy as it ever is. So what is it you're painting at the moment? What's your on your table or on your painting hobby desk, as it were? I'm very well, thank you. I had a nice long weekend, and now I'm actually in the middle of a week off work. So I've booked some time off, and I am going to spend it quite chilled out. I've got a few little jobs and what have you to do. I've done some maintenance on the wife's car, and now I'm and then I've got to do the mother-in-law's car. Oh, that's right. You were painting some sort of random collection of figures that you liked the look of, didn't you? That's right. And Oryx were one of them. Excellent. Right. I don't think I'm going to do any more highlighting on the underside of him. We'll leave that as a fairly basic. I will just pop a little bit on these little dots and dibbles there, and I will run a little bit where that wash has sort of eaten through and left a big puddle. to avoid that sort of coffee stain effect. Okay, a little bit more on there. Okay, that's giving him some quite nice texture, just enough to not look quite so plain. Okay, that looks good for now. Now the yellow one, I think we will just have a look at adding some pure Wraithbone to him. Let's have a look. Let's add a bit of pure Wraithbone to this guy in the same manner. So we're just looking for sort of simple scratchy highlights to add a bit of texture. I think pure Wraithbone might be too light. Well, let's see, this is going to end up bringing him up lighter than the other one, isn't it? Yeah, that's probably too light. Oh well, we're committed now. We'll see if we can see it through. Bring him down a little bit so that we can see him. So what sort of colour scheme are you going for on your Orc Brutes then? Because they are an army that I've looked at over the years. I haven't kept up too much with Age of Sigmar, so Aurochs themselves are a bit weird to me. They don't, you know, they're orcs but with a funny name. But I'm keen to know what sort of colour scheme you're looking. Well, they normally have loads of really sort of hefty, jaggedy armour plates on them, don't they? I've seen people do some really, really nice colour schemes on them, like oranges or... Athonian Camo Shade. Wow, that's a name and a half, isn't it? Ogrin Camo and last sight with Krieg Khaki. That's a lot of effort there. I'm impressed. I'm trying to, like I say, add these highlights in a sort of texture manner to sort of work up the idea of like chitting on his back. Because it's not just three colours, is it? It's three colours applied as a base a shade, a layer, and then a highlight. That's, well, I mean, for one thing, that's 4 colours: Auric Flesh, Athonian Camo Shade, Ogren Camo, and then Krieg Khaki. But working it up all the way through, I mean, you can see what I'm doing here, and this is contrast paint and then come along with a highlight. That's it. I fully admit I do it just for speed, quickness, ease of use, just so that I can get stuff painted. But you know, hearing that there are people out there who are properly applying themselves in the you know, the good base, shade, layer, highlight, it's impressive. Right. Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of people who just paint, but even some of those people who just paint don't necessarily put 4 different colours onto Orc Flesh. I've known people who've never played a game, and I still wouldn't suggest that they were quite as dedicated to it as yourself. Hello. Oh, please. Thank you. Right. Yeah, the speed paints are, like I say, I've had this conversation with somebody today who's like, oh, you know, speed paints are the devil, and we should, you know, we should not be teaching people to use speed paints. And I'm like, it gets rid of grey plastic. So painting is not just my hobby. I paint these miniatures to use them in D&D campaigns. I need miniatures to represent you thought what was the way how to paint miniatures? No, that is the traditional way of painting miniatures. So to apply a base color, highlight it up or shade it back down, and then so normally you'd work in 3 stages. You'd have a base, a shade, a highlight. Reapplying the layer paint in the middle is often optional, dependent upon how well or badly you apply the shade. But it's not the only method of painting. That's what I was sort of trying to have a conversation with somebody else today, in that you can cheat. You can do it quickly if you don't. It's a case of really, if you don't mind how they look at the end of it. There are methods of getting quite good finishes out of the cheap methods, the cheap paints, but I wouldn't suggest that I'm particularly good at those methods. I'm just somebody who's doodling on models on camera. I'm not trying to do it as as a tutorial, and it's saying this is how you should paint for definite. I'm running my paint a little bit thin here, so certain panels will look more textured than others, but that's actually kind of what I wanted, because it then creates a bit more of a natural sort of progression through the model. Hello, Fields Beyond. Welcome back to the stream. I hope you're well. We're working our way through the carrion crawlers that we picked yesterday after we've finished our big boys. Decided I need to get a few more sort of minions painted rather than the boss models that I was painting. Okay. We've just been... Well, yes, I can understand that. I didn't realise that you were expecting surgery, but I'm glad to hear it went well. That's always a good thing, you know, for the surgery to have gone well. Just pick out these tiny little bits there, and then just a couple of little sort of ribbies on here, on his asparagus tips. Sorry, you put a name in chat, Queen of Sabotage. I didn't catch it. I've just got to scroll up because I'm sure I've heard of the painter that you linked. Is that who? Is it a certain style that you like their painting? Just have a look. Wow, okay. Yeah, he is an extremely good painter, isn't he? I mean, I feel it's probably, he was kind of blessed with a very good surname to go into miniature painting from the start. Oh no, I've realised I've missed his let's see if we can just liven up enough paint on the palette just to do his little sausage eye stalks there. Should be just enough there to do them. There we go. Right, that'll do for him there. 1 year. Okay, when did you start, by the way? Because that's a solid. If you've only just started, that's a solid bet for 1 year. I'll take that bet, because that would be serious. I mean, that is very good ambitions. I like strong ambition. I think that's a good shout. Right. Oh, thank you. I think it's time we put something on the knoll. Now, these guys are going to be quite interesting. No, I haven't. I do. Well, I have a handle. It's just the fact that this handle won't fit the big guys. It won't go on there. So it will fit the smaller ones, which is good. So I can stop using my fingers of butter. Your Instagram? No, I don't think I have, Queen of Sabotage. Feel free to link it in the chat. I don't mind links in the chat, as long as you don't go mad with them. But yeah. I did used to do that. Yeah, that used to be my go-to method of a bit of blue tack, as we call it here in the UK, and then just pop them on the top of an old hex pot or something like this, which everyone should have some of these, even if you weren't around when hex pots were a thing, which unfortunately I was. So you know, getting old. Okay, do tell on that one. What was your British influence growing up? Obviously, you know, if you want to tell it. Right, how are we going to paint this guy? So we have sort of dirty browns and greys. Ooh. And then quite a powerful, on a lot of these, they've gone quite a powerful sort of orange colour on the hair. Except the trouble is that this hair, it's only really the spike. The rest of it is more just fur. I'll have to see what I can do with this one. That's some really good work, Queen of Sabotage. No, that's really impressive. I like that a lot. It's nice to see. I mean, I'm still going to call them orcs because I grew up with orcs, not aurochs, but it's really nice to see them with some good, strong, really vibrant colour in the skin, rather than often they tend to be done quite dark and drab. So I like bright colours when it comes to my my miniature painting, where possible. Right, now I need to figure out what a decent grey is going to be, and then a brown to blend it with. So we've got Aggaros Dunes, Snake. I think it's probably going to be is that pink as a base? Right, let's have a look. What have we got? We've got Aggaros Dunes might work quite nicely, and then Basilicanum Grey. I think Basilicanum Grey. Sorry, was that pink as a base for green? Because that's not something I've heard of. Or is it pink? I've heard of pink as a base for yellow. You ask whatever questions you like. It's absolutely fine. It keeps the chat lively, which is very, very nice for me. Because for one thing, it actually helps me learn how to interact with a lively chat, which is, fingers crossed, something that I might have to do regularly as the streaming progresses. Where is my grey? Running out of space. I really do need to. Yeah, I've heard. So at some point, I really want to get my airbrush back into commission. There we go, Basilicanum Grey. Right, Basilicanum Grey, and what colour are we going to do? We're going to go with Snakebite Leather. Yes, I have heard. Like I say, I want to at some point try and get my my airbrush back up and running. I don't know whether to do this Agaros Dunes or Snakebite Leather. I'm going to go with Snakebite Leather on this one, and we'll see whether or not we work it in with a different one. Right. I don't terribly rate Snakebite Leather as a colour for leather. However, for fur and skin tones and what have you, it's actually very good. So pink also works as a base coat for green then, I'm guessing. That's a good one to know. So what we're going to do with this guy, we're trying to keep it over the center spot, trying to keep it on target, is we're going to feather this down to grey at the extremities. So his face, his paws, areas like that. But up here at the tops of his arms, round onto his back, is that supposed to be a jerkin of some sort, or is that his back? We're going to just paint it in as if it's fur, I think. All that he's got to hide his modesty is his scraps of armour. Although actually he looks quite well armoured compared to a lot of models. Right. And then when we get down here, we're going to fade it out again because we're going to run down to grey for his legs. I don't know whether to actually see about doing his tail as the same sort of orange that I'm thinking about for his hair. Yeah, there's quite a lot of miniatures like that. It's I don't judge anyone for the type of miniatures that they want to paint, but some of those ones do make me cringe a little bit, because I die in a little bit inside every time I see a good talented miniature sculptor who's, you know, turning out something covered with boobs just because it's it just seems so wrong at times. But you know, each to their own. Right, don't want to go any further down than that. What I do want to do just over the other side. Now on here I've actually pulled his ear in when I shouldn't have done. I should have left that, because I think his ears would have been better in grey as well. So we're going to definitely keep it grey on this side. And then hopefully we might actually paint a few little hyena spots. Quite like that colour. I think that's going to look quite nicely. No, I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you for that. Right, there we go. That's basic colour set on him. In fact, I do like that colour, so I think I'm going to do the same on the other one. Now these gnolls, I actually have 5 of these, so we are going to be able to do a few colour variations on these ones. So having 2 that look the same isn't going to be too bad. So we'll just try and miss his ear on this side. So down there to the top of his head, and then just a tiny bit under his chin. Oh, nearly got his ear in that one. Trying to keep that separate. I do like gnolls in D&D. They have their own sort of lore, and also aside from just their own lore, they are portrayed quite differently in D&D as they are in a lot of other media. So you see these guys in World of Warcraft and stuff like that, and they're always tend to be quite small, runty looking things, whereas in D&D they're towering great warriors. They're not particularly deadly, and some of them can be. Some of the specials, the sort of lord, or there's a chosen of Yinogu or something, which is the god, and then there's the witherlings, which are like the undead versions. But they are huge, great models. Oh, okay, you're looking for a pink to green tutorial, was it? Now the tail. I still haven't decided quite what we're doing with the tail, so I think I'm going to leave that as is for now. That's fine. We'll do a little bit on here. Okay, I think that's fine. Now just need a little bit on this arm and up here. I think I could possibly have done a bit in there as well, but we're going to leave that. I will have a look at that after the stream. I tend not to I can't open up YouTube while I'm mid-stream, unfortunately, because of the way I have to have the volume set. Right, there we go. But I will have a look at the link afterwards. Right, I think we can safely put our little minions to one side for a minute, and unfortunately I'll have to pop the painting handle to one side as well, and we'll have another look at our boy here. Now I'm fairly certain that for the other one I used Gryph-Charger Grey for his skin. Now all I need to do is find Gryph-Charger Grey in my mystery pot here, but he's actually starting to frustrate me. I'm going to need to sort out a paint rack where I can indulge in my OCD and line them all up so that they're all facing in the correct direction. Yeah, I'll get round to that. Now what I tend to do with miniatures like this and contrast paints is I tend to work from the lightest colour upwards. That way, hopefully, if you make a mistake and you get it onto another area, the next colour up will cover it. That's the theory anyway, or why I do it the way I do it. Right, moment of truth on this guy. Probably a bit too much paint there, but we'll work it about a bit. Don't need him to be overly dark around the eyes. What I might, as I say, end up doing with this guy is adding a little bit of white back to like the spaces between his clenched fingers, and then dripping some of the sort of turquoisey blue from the lightning bolt that the other guy had, just to give the idea of a glow. Maybe he's casting some magic or something. I don't know. I want there to be maybe something about this guy that resembles that colour. And I'm struggling to think of another way to do it. Not an awful lot of bare skin showing on this guy. He's got a bit, and I mustn't forget to do his feet, because we all love a grown ass dude in sandals. Or something along those lines. Right, let's have a little look at this guy. Although, admittedly, texture like that is going to take this contrast paint really nicely. Okay, that zenithal there absolutely missed that foot, didn't it? It's a shame, but I think that colour works fine there anyway. Okay. Right, one last little bit of foot and we are ready to look at what's next for this guy. Now, I did a brief outline of how his colour scheme is going to go. We'll just revisit that now that we've got a few of the basics in place, and we'll see if that stands true. So the plan with him was we're going to have, close that pot before I spill it. I don't want another tragic accident like we did with our wildwood the other day. Can't believe that happened. Well, so the plan with this guy was we were going to have, obviously, flesh tone, white for his beard and hair, a golden crown. The shoulders here were going to be a very sort of light brown colour to break up the grey. And then we're going to have a darker brown on his actual shoulder pad. So this fur is going to look a sort of lighter brownish colour, and then a dark sort of leathery colour for this shoulder pad. I think quite possibly I should have done that as white cloth like this, but I missed it for whatever reason, and now I don't want to. It doesn't look like the same sort of cloth texture, to be honest with you, so maybe not. We're going to have various metal, and so silver and gold on his vambraces and his knees, and then various bits of leather in here as well. So yeah, I do need to work out what I'm going to do with that, and I think that should probably have been white. Leather belt, metal cuirass, metallic for his torch, and I think we're sold on a yellow flame. red inside the cloak, bit of highlighting on the white here on his outside of his cloak and his skirt, and then leather on his sandals. Okay, I think that still holds true, and I think we are ready to maybe let him dry for a little bit, and then we'll go along and do the rest of him. Now let's put a little bit of purple on our asparagus. Now, I know we've gone different colours on these guys, but they are both going to get these tips done in the same colour, which is going to be hopefully a sort of slightly watered out pinky purpley colour that I'm going to try and feather down to the end. That looks awful, but we know it looks awful at the moment, and we will maybe come back and shade it a bit, get that to look a bit better. While I just let the cat out. It's not a euphemism. Come on. Come on. Oh. Silly, I forget my painting handle. Get my head if it wasn't screwed on, as my old man would have said. Right. I don't. I'm assuming that these bits at the end of his danglies are like a lure of some sort to attract prey or whatever that is. So perhaps this delicious looking pink colour is quite appropriate to lure in prey for a carrion crawler. I don't know, but I have seen them done with these sort of weird tentacles in a purpley sort of colour. So that's what we're going with, and it's too late now because it's already on the model, and we don't take backsies here. Right. Okay. I could. I have to come back and pick out the teeth anyway, so an inner mouth colour for lips and gums and what have you might look quite good in a sort of purplish colour like this, as opposed to trying to make a red work. I often find that purples work better when it comes to like lining out a mouth rather than black or red. It just tends to look slightly more natural in a weird and terrifying way. Never be a commission painter. Well, you see, what you got to remember with a commission painter is that you have to paint it the way somebody else wants you to paint it, not how you want to paint it. Unless you become a very, very good commission painter who becomes very well known, and then a lot of people will just go, yeah, just paint it how you want it painted. I did, back in the day, I did run a few commissions that went okay. I sold a few pieces, and then from that a couple of people approached me and said, oh, can you paint something like this for me? And I was like, yeah, probably. And they went okay, but it's not very satisfying, because you're painting to their instruction. As long as you're fine with that, commission painting isn't too bad. It's just a case of setting realistic deadlines, though, and making sure that your client is on board with how realistic those deadlines are, and making sure that they're kept updated. So if something's going to change, let them know. Just tell them. Say, oh, look, you know, I've had an absolute nightmare of a time, of a week, of a month, or what have you. I really am going to need a bit of an extension. And as long as you're not taking the piss, as long as you're not doing it every week, most people are fine with it. But I wouldn't be going back to it, because if you look at what a lot of people expect, and then you look at how much you're able to actually charge, it makes your hourly rate just, it's ridiculously low. There we go, it's got some nice purpley danglies. We'll pick out his mouth as well. I mean, these guys are quite caricature-y, aren't they? They're not a very terrifying looking monster. So when I put this on the table, I'm really going to have to sell how dangerous this enemy actually is. Unfortunately, I don't think carrion crawlers are particularly deadly, so as well as them looking like comedy caricatures, they're probably not going to do that much in the way of damage either. Now, I have said for these guys that what my plan is to do their claws in a sort of red to black fade. So I'll come and have a look at those shortly. A couple of knolls there that are ready for grey. One of the nice things about making sure that you have enough models on the desk so that you're not waiting too long in between different colours. If you can get enough there on the desk so that you can flip between models quite quickly and easily, that's quite a skill I'm going to have to learn. Because these contrast paints do sometimes take a little while to dry off enough to put the next colour on. Okay, that's quite a nice little colour transition there actually. The grey into the brown. I might just see if I can sort of take it a bit further back in order to feather it. I don't want to risk it going too dark. Although I suppose we are going to try and put our spots on that, because we've got hyena spots to come back and paint. Okay, there we go. We'll paint his tail in grey rather than what we were talking about, the orange. I'm going to keep that little stripe across the top in a sort of orangey colour. Oh, far too much paint on there. With the set that these models came out of, because they're a board game, they have this, each one has this little tab next to them with a number on it. I think so that you can remember easily on the board game what one you've killed, or otherwise I'm not sure quite what those numbers are there for. I suppose I could look in the rules, couldn't I? But where's the fun in that? Keep him over the centre spot so that we know we're actually showing it to the camera. I will get used to that eventually. That colour transition is actually quite nice. Quite happy with that. We'll use black to paint some spots onto his sort of haunches there. Yeah. I imagine he's probably only going to be wearing like leather armour rather than metal though. We'll see when we paint that one up. Right. I'm going to do the same on the other knoll. Knoll 1, knoll 2. Or actually it's knoll 1 and knoll 2. I've only just realised he's got some jewellery rocking in that ear. I wonder if we've got any in the other. No, don't think so, but Might try and paint that. I'm not sure just yet. Probably won't, to be fair. Don't want to get lost in the detail with these guys because they are pretty much just minions. As I say, if you're going to be devoting hours and hours of game time to a model, you know, like possibly a storm giant king by the looks of him, he might, you know, have some important things to say to your players. It's probably best to spend the amount of time on that model rather than Null 1 to 5. Maybe we'll find some Null King or something that can have a bit of extra time spent on him. Queen of Sabotage, thank you very much for dropping by. It's a real pleasure to have you back on the chat, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime. So yeah, by all means, take care, have a lovely evening, or sleep, or, you know, however it goes, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you again soon. Take care. Right. How are we looking for time? It's about 9:30 here. I'm very glad to hear it. Thank you very much for saying so. So it's about 9:30 here. I normally of a weeknight would go to about 10ish. I think I might allow myself a little bit longer tonight because I don't have to get up for work, but I don't want to go too long because then it throws out the experiment, because I won't be able to do this next week. I won't be able to go later and longer next week. So if I'm trying to find out the correct days for me to stream, it would make sense to stream the same amount of time as I would normally during the week. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. That's quite a nice colour transition between those two colours, actually. I'm quite pleased with that. It's come out better than I had kind of hoped for. Right, we can pop him to one side. That's 2 of our Nulls done. Another cup of tea here as well. Now, we've got various different details on this, which I think might be nice to pick them out rather than just going all one colour. I still need to decide what's happening with this sleeve, don't I? I think I'm going to have to do it in white, otherwise it's going to look... If I don't, it's going to mean introducing a different colour in there, which I've got nowhere else on the model. I don't think it would be right. So I'm going to do that in white as well. Now, the other whites, I've had to put 2 coats on. So let's do that first. We'll get that out of the way. It's a very weird looking cloth, but I think it is supposed to be cloth. It's one of the quirks of this material that they make these out of. It's like a sort of semi-hard PVC sort of plastic. So it's quite an interesting material. It's got a little bit of flex to it. You can move things about. So they're very durable. You can chuck this on the ground, and I mean, I'm not going to, but you can if you really want to be an idiot. Right. Yeah, that's probably going to look okay in white when we get that done. So we're going to do 2 coats of the contrast over that, because the zenithal does take a bit away from the white contrast, and then we'll come back and hit it with a bunch of highlight as well. Okay, it's not in too bad a shape. Now I think because we've got a bit of separation on it, what I can actually do is start working on the belt. And what we're going to do for the belt is we are going to find our lovely secondary leather colour, which at the moment has been proving to be Gore-Grunter fur. Really, really nice colour. I'm actually really enjoying this colour. So what we're going to do is pick out various parts of this belt . And other parts of... Right, what have we got? So we're going to want our regular leather colour in there. That piece there, silver. That piece there, gold. Works. Same down here, silver, gold, silver, gold, regular leather, leather. So it is just going to be on this central piece where we have a different... In fact, if we're going to do that, then what we're going to do is we're going to do the sandals in this leather colour as well. Let's try and get that in place. Because like I say, I think this is quite a good lighter leather colour. Certainly looks the part. Could potentially have done... nearly lost him there. I could potentially have done that with a bit more sort of trim on his... But I mean, at the end of the day, they are just sandals, so maybe they don't need to be super detailed. Although, I mean, I think they're trying to pitch him as sort of some sort of Greek-inspired giant king. I personally, I don't think there's an awful lot of threat, even from a 26-foot tall man in sandals. I suppose the 26-foot tall does come with a certain amount of, you know, intimidation to it, but anything gained in height is probably lost in sandal. I'm fairly sure one of my players, Barbarian, will point that out. They do seem to have great fun picking apart the fashion sense of some of these models. And when I do tell them that, you know, it's not really the NPC's fault what their third-party model makers have dressed them in. Try and take them seriously, even if they are wearing sandals, and that's just a no-go. There's no give with some of my players. Right, now what I want to do is I want to try and pick out some of the details on this belt in this lighter colour, so that when we come along with our darker colour, our regular leather colour, it will look like a sort of two-tone jobby. So we're going to go the underside of that trim, and that trim will then look like embossed leather. That's the theory anyway. Might work, might not. Oh, I'm putting my fingers all over the bit that I've just painted. Like I say, I'm actually really enjoying this Gore-Grunta fur as a secondary leather colour. Now, what I'm going to do here is infill these panels. And then when we come in with our wildwood, which I don't actually like for wood, but I love it for dark leather. It's quite a desaturated brown. It's got not an awful lot of like reds and what have you in it. There's a sort of more of a tone of blue in wildwood, and I do like that. Now, based on that, I'm also going to do this infill panel here. I'm not going to do the bottom panel, but the infill panel here. Is going to be this colour as well. Fortunately, there is a little bit of red has crept in on that shoulder pad and just down that cloak where he was stored in the box next to my red dragon, and they just rubbed against each other a little bit. I'm sure there was nothing to it, you know, nothing like that. Right. Okay. I'm going to have to, at some point, do the inside of the cloak, because otherwise I'm going to get paint everywhere when I do that. It is slightly unfortunate that we've had to think about doing that in red. It's not unfortunate, because that does tie in then with the other Storm Giant model, so he will look quite fitting next to the other guy. Now, do I dare to try out my new metal colour? Am I brave enough? Yeah, I think we can try that one out. Now, weirdly enough, I have also... No, I'm not, because that would then mean painting pretty much everything. He's doing up here, there. Maybe. Are we feeling brave? Are we feeling ready for this? I did also splurge, and I bought Retributor armor as well. Now, I have actually been having quite good fun using my old Mithril Silver on these. And then, so in fact, if I want to keep them looking the same, those two paints need to sit it out. And we're going to use our Mithril Silver. Look at that, classic. Absolute classic. I don't know what I'll do when this is gone. Maybe have a little cry. Right. I must remember that the Mithril Silver doesn't react terribly well to watering down, because it is one of those old metallics where the flakes will actually separate out. A lot of the older Citadel metallics did suffer with the size of their pigment flakes, and they would separate when they were watered down. It's probably one of the reasons why I should be actually looking at using the new paints rather than going, oh, but I like my old stuff, like some sort of grognard. Now, all of these areas I'm going to paint in with silver, even though the intention is to do this area in gold, because on the previous model the way I did the gold was to paint silver and then run a, what was it? Was it Nasdreg yellow on that one? Yeah, I think it was. A yellow contrast paint over the top of it, which is, it actually gives a really nice saturated gold. But it does mean that I now need to do it on this one as well. Paint this this cuirass as well. And then I think that cuirass is going to actually remain in silver. I don't think I'm going to pick out the trims on it in gold, because otherwise I think there's actually going to be quite a lot of gold on this guy, and I don't want it to become overpowered. Okay, that's pretty good. So there'll just be a little bit peeking out there in gold, but the rest of his vambrace on his wrist will be silver, including that bit of his hand that I've just painted in. God damn it. Never mind. Right. There. It's alright, any little bits where we do slip up, when we come back later with Agrax Earthshade, something like that. I say something like that, it will definitely be like that. I've fallen in love with that. I think it's a very nice wash to put over armor and things. That will sit in that recess quite nicely and take that up. I've forgotten his crown. Right, a bit more paint, thin it down a bit more. Remember, crystal silver doesn't like water. Obviously his crown will be in gold, because we can't have a pauper's silver crown. Not for our, what are we calling him? Storm King? He's not the Storm King, is he? Don't know. Was the Storm King actually a giant? Was he a storm giant? I can't remember. I say I can't remember. I've only run Storm King's Thunder once. Go right. Could possibly have done with a bit more cleanup on that part. There are a few nasty mold lines, which, to be honest with you, these models don't warrant that much in the way of cleanup. But as I've said, if you're going to spend a little bit more time on them, probably should have cleaned that up. Pretty lazy of me, to be fair. What's that? Your miniature painting and modelling is lazy? Oh, who would have thought it? It's not like I advertise my laziness about this at every possible stage. Right, now we'll flip that over. Oh, sorry camera, just wobbling you guys about there. This is going to take a bit of deciphering how the model is supposed to represent an actual torch, I think, because it's a bit all over the place. Some of this is going to be silver. I think some of it is going to have to be gold in order to actually get some of the bits that are right next to each other to have some definition between them. I think I'm going to need to paint them in different colours, but that sounds like a tomorrow problem, to be honest with you, because we are getting fairly close to the end of the stream. What are we now? We've got about another 10 minutes or so. Like I say, I am trying this out as a different day to my normal streaming schedule. Normally we are Friday through Tuesday, and then Wednesdays and Thursdays would be my days off. Where at one point I was trying to convince myself I would use that time to do content creation, and I've realised I suck at content creation, and so we kind of now don't. However, if I could drop a night of streaming, or if I could drop a night or 2 nights over the weekend, and if I work out that I'm getting better results during the week than I do at the weekend, then that's what I'm planning to do, because Friday and Saturday nights are kind of precious time. There are plenty of other things that need doing, and so that might be a bit of a change of pace for me. So yeah, what we're doing this week is we're going to stream all the way through Monday through Friday, Monday through next Monday, or Tuesday in fact. Monday through next Tuesday. Wow, that's a long old week without a break. But I'm not at work, so it doesn't really matter. Just to judge what's the best days to keep streaming on. So yeah, feel free to join me in the next one. Like I say, we've got another 10 minutes or so, but I'll get started and prepped for closing the stream down. This is a lovely model. Hopefully, just like the other one, he will actually start to come together as we get closer and closer to the finish point. Because at the moment, I'm not loving him. He's looking all right, but I'm a little bit on the fence about him. I think it's the fact that he hasn't got the blue. The other Storm Giant had that huge sort of lightning sword, and the lightning bolt, and this guy, I mean, he's just got his candy floss, and that it's not the same effect. I will still try and pick out the eye detail like I did on the other giant. I will grab him out in a moment just to remind myself what I did with him in a way. Oh, nearly there, nearly got that silver done. And very shortly we will need to look at highlighting up this white as well, because that is quite a big part of this model. Right, there we go. That is all of the metallics done. We are, where it's gold, we will hit them with a Nasdreg yellow, and then all over it will then Agrax Earthshade, so that he looks matching to his partner in crime. In fact, let's just grab him just so that we can compare the two side by side. Right, here we go. So the colours are looking pretty good. The flesh tone looks pretty good. I will do a similar effect for his eyes, I think, because I thought those eyes came out quite nicely with the blue glow. But unfortunately, I can't really see anywhere to include much more of that blue glow. The fire, I think, would look really weird if I tried to include that colour there. I can do his eyes. I was thinking about maybe doing something around his fist to be like a clenched, crackling, lightning fist or something. I'm going to stop saying the word fist now, apart from that time, because it is kind of freaking myself out. And also, the only red that I'm going to get on this guy will be inside his cloak. So, I mean, you know, maybe they fulfill two different roles in Storm Giant hierarchy. This guy is clearly a warrior of some sort, and this guy is maybe I don't know, maybe he keeps the candles lit around the Storm Giant palace. I don't know. But he's got a crown anyway, so there's that. Hopefully we should be able to get something similar out of these two. I think they're not too far apart already, so I think we'll be okay. Yeah, we'll be okay. Right, folks, that is me done for the evening. I've had another great stream. Been really nice. Had a couple of people chatting, which is something for me to get used to. I need to practice having people in the chat and chatting to them. So yeah, that's something I very much appreciate. As I say, I'll be back tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock UK time. And so, until then, I will bid you adieu. Toodaloo, folks.